This exam walkthrough will look at Chapter 8, which is about memory. This is obviously the storing of information, different types from video, sound, text and other types of information which are obviously encoded using the base 2 binary system. This question here, complete the paragraph by choosing 6 correct terms from the list. So let's look at the text. A computer has 2 different types of memory. Something memory is not directly accessed by the CPU, so that's secondary, such as solid state hard drive or magnetic hard drive. But it allows a user to store data that can be easily accessed by applications, yes, when it's fetched and brought into RAM. 2 examples of this type of memory are, let's put hard disk drive is the one probably to use, or magnetic disk, and SSD, solid state. The second type of memory is primary. So you've obviously got your primary and your secondary memory. This memory is directly accessed by the CPU. Yes, from primary into level 1, 2, 3 cache around the processor. It allows the processor to access data and instructions that are stored in memory. 2 examples of this memory are RAM and ROM. So that's worth 6 marks. Let's look at another question now, and this question is to do with a variety of devices. So 5 storage devices are described in the table below. We need the name of the storage device and then to tick one of the columns, either 3, 4 or 5, as to whether it's primary, secondary or offline. So 10 marks. This should be good in terms of getting marks out of 10 out of 75 for the paper. So optical media, which uses one spiral track. Red lasers are used, so we know it's not Blu-ray or 4K discs or anything that uses ultraviolet. And write data on the media service. Make use of dual layering technology to increase storage capacity. So that is DVD, because it's with red laser, and dual layering. And that is of course offline, because you can take it away from the computer. Non-volatile memory chip. Contents of the chip can be altered and is often used to store the startup routines in a computer, e.g. the BIOS. Well, that's of course the read-only memory, the ROM chip, that can be flashed and changed. Optical media, which uses concentric tracks. So that's like rings. You cut through a tree, of course, you've got rings. That's concentric, not spiral. Allows data. This allows read and write operations to be carried out at the same time. So you won't know or probably see or use these very often, but this is DVD RAM discs used for video cameras. That used to have a disc you could put in and read and write to, because you could preview the video and record, and allows those things to happen. And that is of course technically being RAM and working in that way, it's primary. You could argue that of course that disc can be taken away, of course it's offline. Next one, non-volatile memory device that uses NAND flash memories, which consist of millions of transistors wired in a series on a single circuit board. So probably go for, we could go for USB storage or SD type storage. Let's go for SSD, which of course is secondary. Next one, optical media uses blue laser, so we can probably stop there and know that it's going to be Blu-ray. And that's offline, so 10 marks available for that question. The final question we'll look at is 4 examples of optical storage media: DVD rewrite, DVD RAM, which we just talked about, CD-ROM, read-only, and Blu-ray disc. The table below shows 4 features of optical storage media. You've got to put a tick to indicate which features apply. So DVD rewrite is single track, and it uses DVDs use red lasers. DVD RAM we talked about is concentric tracks, and it uses red laser. It's DVD. CD-ROM uses red laser and it's a single track, and Blu-ray is single track but uses blue laser. So that's 4 marks, a mark for each pair. B, solid state drives are replacing HDD hard disk drives in some computers, well most computers. Give 3 reasons why this is happening. So this probably key reasons people swap them out is for the speed of which, the startup speed of the computer in terms of transferring after the boot the operating systems into RAM much quicker. So we can talk about lower, I guess. Let's talk about quicker to get up to speed, quicker to load or start PC, we put in brackets operating system from from SSD to RAM. The smaller potentially in terms of laptops and things, and lighter, the smaller, they can be lighter. So there's 3 there. They're obviously they run. There's no moving parts, take up less space. So this is less space. You've got no moving parts, which obviously is quite useful for sort of mobile storage in terms of different devices such as laptops, etc. And they take less energy to run, so use less energy. So again, very good for mobile devices. And then the final question is explain why many web servers still use hard disk drive technology. Well, of course, this is because HDD, so magnetic drives, are cheaper. So it's still cheaper than SSDs, certainly per gigabyte, or looking at terabytes, cheaper. Read and write. So for read and write, you've got greater sort of lifespan for HDD. And of course, I suppose you could argue that there's the cost to change from HDD. If you're a server farm and you invested and you keep investing in most of your storage capacity is magnetic, then changing all that within the space of several weeks or months would be could potentially be a huge cost depending on the server farm. So you most likely start to replace and swap and increase your proportion of solid state drives, or offer some services, some web servers, that as a selling point. But of course, it's also remember to know that there's not really the need for most things, not always the need for speed, because of course we're not working locally on a fast, high-end laptop or PC where we want the data transfer and movement of that data and storage of vast amounts of data. We've got the internet infrastructure in between, which is of course not going to be working at that high capacity of data transfer speed that the solid state drives can potentially work at. So you're not going to realize all of those gains in most situations.